To become trapped in amber is such an extremely rare thing that we can only dream of the perfect preservation it offers. So, unsurprisingly, amber fossils are, relatively speaking, quite uncommon. However, at the end of the day, Earth has still seen tons of life come and go. I mean, after all, right at this very second, quintillions of animals are sharing the planet with us. So it's not hard to see why amber specimens still end up being very numerous, and entire industries exist around them. And yet, given their sheer total numbers, amber finds typically happen to be rather normal in the sense that we've seen them before. And even when they do represent a new species, they generally fall under something we've already dealt with. For example, a new insect being some species of beetle we recognize. It's really quite seldom that we do actually make a discovery that is both new and mind-boggling, but it has happened more than once, and there are a few creatures that have left paleontologists pretty much just scratching their heads, wondering what the heck they're looking at even to this day. And there's perhaps no better example of this than amber fossils that preserve prehistoric life in absolutely bonkers detail. We're talking about specimens so well preserved you can see individual scales, the color of feathers, and even what these ancient critters had for their last meal. It's honestly kind of incredible and also slightly morbid when you think about it. And there's perhaps no better place to start than with a prehistoric gecko that was discovered in Baltic amber from the Eocene period, formed between 54 and 34 million years ago. This remarkable find came to light when researchers stumbled upon what would become a grainy eternity for one tiny reptile. This little dude comes from Russia and dates back somewhere between 54 and 34 million years ago. Now, you might be wondering why this gecko's eyes are wide open in the amber. Well, turns out geckos don't have eyelids and just lick their eyeballs to clean them. Yeah, I know. Delightful mental image there. This fossilized gecko is absolutely tiny. We're talking about 15 millimeters long, or about the size of a grape, which honestly makes sense because anything bigger would have had the strength to pull itself out of the tree resin and escape to live another day. But this tiny gecko, nope, it got stuck, and now it's been giving us a masterclass in prehistoric climbing for millions of years. Here's where it gets really cool though. This ancient gecko already had the full sticky toe package that modern geckos use to defy gravity. We're talking about specialized toe pads with microscopic structures that use van der Waals forces to stick to literally anything. So yeah, this gecko could have walked on your ceiling 54 million years ago, which is both awesome and mildly terrifying. But the real kicker, back when this gecko was alive, Russia was basically tropical paradise. We're talking palm trees where there's now frozen tundra. The whole planet was like one giant greenhouse back then, which explains why we're finding tropical species in places that are now, well, not tropical at all. So next time you see a gecko chilling on your wall, just remember their ancestors were pulling the same gravity-defying stunts when the biggest mammals around were about the size of horses. And amber discoveries do not end with tiny geckos, as it was in Myanmar that a fossil was located that was so mind-blowing it literally changed how we picture dinosaurs forever. But to truly understand what makes this discovery so remarkable, you have to picture something that seems impossible. A tree sap tomb containing actual dinosaur remains, complete with every delicate detail preserved in horrifying clarity. Remember when they were all big, scary, scaly monsters? Yeah, forget all that noise. This next amber specimen contains a chunk of dinosaur tail that's so fluffy you'd want to give it pets if it wasn't, you know, fossilized for 99 million years. This tail comes from some sort of maniraptoran dinosaur, basically related to things like velociraptors, and it's absolutely covered in feathers. Not flight feathers though. These were more like nature's first down jacket. This little dude was essentially a fluffy, probably murderous chicken ancestor, and honestly that's both adorable and completely terrifying. The preservation here is so insane that you can see individual filaments of each feather. It's like getting a freeze frame of prehistoric life in HD. What's really wild is that these feathers didn't even have proper central shafts yet. Evolution was still figuring out the whole feather thing. So we're basically watching one of nature's greatest inventions getting worked out in real time. But wait, there's more. Scientists can actually tell what color this dinosaur was. The top of the tail was chestnut brown, while the bottom was probably pale or white. This countershading camouflage is the same trick modern animals use: dark on top, light on bottom to confuse predators and prey. Now here's the slightly dark part. This tale probably came from a baby that either got stuck and couldn't escape or was already dead when the resin found it. Either way, this little dinosaur's terrible day became our incredible window into what these creatures actually looked like. Sometimes the best science comes from the worst luck, but hey, at least that's just one specimen, as sometimes gross amber discoveries come with even grosser details. And that's exactly what happened when scientists found a 20-million-year-old flea in Dominican amber. But to understand just how disturbing this discovery really is, you have to imagine being frozen in your most embarrassing moment for all eternity, because that's essentially what happened to this poor creature. Scientists found a 20-million-year-old flea in Dominican amber, and this little guy got fossilized at literally the worst possible moment. We're talking about right after it finished cleaning its rear end. Yeah, that's right. This flea has been stuck with that embarrassing moment for 20 million years, but here's where it gets interesting and slightly horrifying. Those bacteria hanging around the flea's backside, they look suspiciously like ancient ancestors of Yersinia pestis. Bacteria resembling plague ancestors that would eventually evolve into the same stuff that wiped out half of Europe. So we might be looking at prehistoric plague-like bacteria, which is either the coolest or most terrifying discovery ever. Before you start panicking about ancient super plague though, chill out. This strain would have been completely different from the human-killing version. This prehistoric plague was probably just annoying rodents, and since Dominican amber sites are loaded with ancient rodent hair, we can picture tiny prehistoric hamsters dealing with flea problems. It's like a nature documentary, but with more parasites. The really wild thing is this flea also had bacteria around its mouthparts, suggesting it was ready to pass along whatever nastiness it was carrying to the next victim. It's basically a frozen moment of biological warfare from 20 million years ago. And thank God John Hammond never got his hands on this specimen, because a theme park full of plague-carrying prehistoric fleas sounds like the absolute worst business model in history. But oddities from Myanmar do not end with feathered dinosaur tales, as it was also there that scientists discovered the heartbreaking remains of a baby bird that tells us incredible things about prehistoric flight. But what makes this particular specimen so haunting is not just its tiny size, but the fact that you're essentially staring at a moment of death suspended in crystalline clarity, a nursery tragedy preserved for nearly 100 million years. We're back to Myanmar amber, and this time we've got a baby bird, and I mean baby. This little guy was probably only days old when it met its sticky fate. This is an enantiornithine bird, which is basically a prehistoric bird with teeth and claws on its wings, because evolution was still working out the whole bird concept back then. These guys went extinct with the dinosaurs, so this specimen is like finding a postcard from a completely lost world. The detail here is absolutely bonkers. You can see tiny scales on its feet, individual feathers, and even its little closed eyelids. Scientists could tell this baby was molting, literally growing its first real feathers when disaster struck. And here's what's crazy. This baby already had flight feathers, suggesting these ancient birds were ready to fly almost immediately after hatching. Modern baby birds spend weeks figuring out the whole flying thing, but this prehistoric chick was apparently born ready for takeoff. Evolution's beta version of birds was like, make them airborne immediately. You can still see the color patterns too, browns and grays that would have helped camouflage it from predators, but apparently that camo couldn't save it from sticky tree sap. Sometimes being small enough for perfect preservation also means being small enough to get trapped by things bigger animals could just shrug off. And while not to the same degree of heartbreak, there is perhaps no amber specimen that has caused more controversy than what scientists initially claimed was the smallest dinosaur ever discovered. But what makes this story truly bizarre is not just the scientific mix-up that followed, but the way a single misidentified fossil managed to expose some of the ugliest truths about modern paleontology. In 2020, paleontologists announced they'd found the Holy Grail, a perfectly preserved tiny dinosaur head in amber. They called it Oculudentavis and claimed it was the smallest dinosaur ever discovered, smaller than a bee humming hummingbird. The internet absolutely lost its mind. Headlines everywhere, scientists high-fiving, museum curators probably doing happy dances. There was just one tiny problem. It wasn't a dinosaur at all. Plot twist of the century right there. After months of celebration, other scientists took a closer look and realized this revolutionary dinosaur discovery was actually just a really, really weird lizard. And I mean weird. This thing had evolved to look so bird-like that it fooled experts for months. But the story gets way more complicated than just scientific embarrassment. All these Myanmar amber specimens we've talked about, the dinosaur tail, the baby bird, this fake dinosaur, they all come from mines in a region dealing with serious violence and human rights issues. The scientific community basically imploded, arguing about whether studying these fossils was funding conflict or preserving irreplaceable scientific specimens. It's a total mess. Some scientists say studying Myanmar amber is ethically wrong. Others argue that without scientific research, these incredible fossils just become jewelry and get lost forever. Both sides have valid points, and honestly, there's no easy answer. But putting the ethical nightmare aside, Oculudon tavis is still scientifically wild. This lizard convergently evolved huge eyes and a long snout for hunting tiny insects. It's like nature played the ultimate prank, making a lizard that looks more like a bird than some actual birds do. So there you have it. 5 creatures that had absolutely terrible luck, but gave us incredible glimpses into prehistoric life. From wall-climbing geckos to fluffy baby dinosaurs to plague-carrying fleas, amber fossils are basically nature's own time machine, complete with full-color HD detail that puts any nature documentary to shame. The really mind-blowing thing is we're probably just scratching the surface here. Every amber deposit could be hiding the next game-changing discovery. Maybe we'll find a complete baby dinosaur, or ancient DNA that actually works, or something so weird we don't even have a category for it yet. Until then, we can just marvel at these incredible accidents of preservation that give us front-row seats to moments from millions of years ago. And hey, at least none of us have to worry about getting stuck in tree sap for eternity. Though honestly, given how perfectly these specimens are preserved, maybe it wouldn't be the worst way to achieve immortality. Just maybe work out a better pose first. Thanks for watching. Until next time, Dead Curious.